with me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to this Louie T Network exclusive. So, you know how it is, man. College football, that first week, I told you it hits a little different. Once the NFL kicks in next week, there won't be a ton of time for this, and I won't be as engaged with college football. But it's always nice to kind of check in on some of the young guys that are prospects that everyone's kind of excited about heading into the college football season. I told you Mel Kiper had this Riley Leonard quarterback, number 3 on his list of quarterbacks. I wanted to give my first glance at him and you know, some of my takeaways from watching him play. This is really my first time, so I don't want to base this one performance. I don't want to base my opinions just solely on this one performance, but this was a stage for him, right? He had a whole year under his belt last year. He played, and this was big time college football. Number 9 team in the nation, Clemson, coming to your building. You got the stage all to yourself. No one else is playing. This was a chance for him to show up and show out. I wasn't overly impressed. I see the tools. We'll get into him in a bit in particular, but I think overshadowed is this Duke defense. We'll talk about that. And Notre Dame sees them this year at Duke, by the way. So I had, you know, even more of an interest in watching this Duke team play, because we'll see them a little bit later on this season. Same with Clemson. I wanted to get a look at them. Really, that's why I was watching the game. Hit that and Riley Leonard. But also yesterday, you know, Florida State, LSU, that was the biggest matchup of the weekend, turned into a dud. We'll get into that one a little bit later on in the show to wrap up college football week number 1. Somebody had gotten on me from the college football video that I did on Saturday night, pretty much saying, hey, you didn't talk about the team that scored the most points in week 1 college football. That's I know you said you don't like Bo Nix, but Oregon scored 81 points. Bro, you played Portland State. What do you want me to do? Huh? What, you want me to do backflips? You played Portland State. You scored 81 points. What did he freaking do? You played Portland State. You were supposed to blow them out. Anyway, good for Bo Nix. Come talk to me in a couple of weeks when you're playing USC or you're playing somebody really good. You know, you're playing Washington. Then come talk to me if he does that same thing against a high-quality defense or just a high-quality team in general, and you're scoring a bunch of points. Then, you know, we can have a conversation. But anyway, I digress. Let's start with tonight's game. Riley Leonard, it was the main attraction. Clemson featured a first-time starting quarterback. Think he's a sophomore, and Cade Kubnik. Mixed reviews on him. Boy, a lot of teams are making that transition from, you know, longtime starters, and it did not go well in week 1. Now, Clemson didn't have a great starter last year in DJ U. And he went over. I don't know if you guys got to see. I watched this game on Sunday. But he went over to Oregon State, and he had himself a ball game against San Jose State. They're ranked, I think they're ranked 19th in the nation or something. They're going to move up, and they look damn impressive and good. And he looked good. He looked comfortable. But anyway, Riley Leonard, let's talk about him. You know, this is a guy that, so reportedly 15 NFL teams were in attendance, something like that. 3 GMs, something to that effect. It was double-digit teams for sure. Maybe like 12, whatever it was. A lot of teams going there. And, you know, Clemson's a powerhouse, got a lot of talent there. Duke's, man, that defense was flying around, man. But, you know, it was more about probably Riley Leonard, checking him out, kind of assessing what this guy could potentially be. And then looking at some of the talent that Clemson has, they always got some stuff there worth, you know, noting. So Riley Leonard, for me, tremendous athlete. You can see that. We saw that he was a guy that played basketball. They showed us the 360 dunk. He thought he was going to play college basketball. So obviously, anytime you get a multi-sport athlete, you're getting an athlete. And that's most coaches, no matter what the sport, love multi-sport athletes because you bring a different skill set to the table. And anytime you get a guy that's played multiple sports, they offer something that other guys genuinely don't, whether it's hand-eye coordination, quickness. If you're a basketball player that turns the football, you know how to use your body. If you're a tight end and you make that conversion over, now you know how to box guys out, use your body, go up and get the football, that kind of thing. If you're a ex-baseball player and you're playing basketball, you got tremendous hand-eye coordination. Football, same deal, if you're an ex-baseball player. So they love those kind of players that play different sports. And because different sports require different set of skills. And you can see Riley Leonard is an athlete. On that touchdown run, the 44-yarder, he breaks the tackle. The first run of the game he had, it was probably like a 9-yard run. I was like, oh, shit. He kept it on read option, got up a hole, gave a little stutter, and it was a quick bop. It wasn't like that slow white quarterback. It was a bop, and then he cut, and that dude froze, and he went right by him. I was like, oh shit, good move. I said, okay, you hit different. You look a little different at the quarterback position. And then that 44-yard run, I think, put a bow on top of that, a cherry on top of that assessment. Like, okay, he's different. That's not a regular quarterback, back there, regular white quarterback at that, back there running around. This dude has some real wheels, and he's an athlete, and he's got some ability as a runner. What I wanted to see, because it's a lot of those dudes in college football who can run. It's a lot of those guys. Can you throw the football? I wasn't impressed with him as a passer tonight. And this might have just been an off night, and those happen. He didn't make the critical mistake, which is key in trying to upset a team, whether you're home or on the road. It doesn't really matter. Clemson was ranked 9th in the nation, and they get their doors blown off tonight, 28-7. And look, ton of mistakes on the part of Clemson. We'll get to that in a second. But it couldn't happen to a better coach than Dabo Swinney. What an ass he is. Just a class ass Dabo Swinney is. That whole aw shucks, whoa, oh my God, I can't believe it. Act is old and tired. And not a big fan of Dabo Swinney, but Riley Leonard struggled throwing the football tonight. And, they talked about how accurate this guy is in the short to intermediate. And I saw that a lot of the underneath stuff, he didn't have any issues, with the 5 to 7 yard routes right in front of him. But everything down the field, intermediate, deep, he was off for the most part. And did this guy even finish at 55% completion percentage? At one point, I know he was hovering around 50. He might have finished at like 52%, barely over 50. It was not a great night passing for him. Was not impressed. And I'll have to see a lot more. And it's the first game of the season. I'm not going to kill him for that. A lot of guys struggle throwing the football that will probably be much better 3 weeks from now. The McCord kid at Ohio State. We'll talk a little bit about some of these, teams with these young quarterbacks who did not look all that sharp in week number 1. But, it's week 1, right? What you want to do is find a way to win, which Clemson did not. Riley Leonard and company, hats off to that program. Their coach was 7-0 last year when they scored first, make it 8-0 now in his career as the head coach of Duke. They were fired up. The story will be, Riley Leonard, the 44-yard run. Oh, look at this guy. They'll hype him up. He was ass as a passer tonight. And again, that may not be who he is, but he was not, it was not pretty tonight. I didn't walk away like, oh shit, I'm going to keep my eye on this dude, but I didn't walk away saying, oh my gosh, he's definitely the 3rd best quarterback in the nation. I put Deion Sanders ahead of him right now, but again, Shedeur has to keep doing it. That's one game against TCU. They don't play any defense in the Big 12 last time I checked. So, okay, gotcha. Let's see what he does against, different competition. Now they're playing Nebraska. They play much better defense. They may not score no damn points in Lincoln, Nebraska, but they can play some defense. So we'll see what happens and what they look like next week. And if Colorado can kind of duplicate what they did against a team that actually, plays some damn defense in Nebraska. So, but if nothing else, Riley Leonard said, hey, I'm an athlete, if nothing else. And you see the arm talent. I do. I can recognize arm talent when I see it. He's got it. Now, can he put it all together? And again, didn't start playing quarterback until his junior year of high school. So I get it. He's still growing as a football player. He's still growing as a quarterback. And I think that's something that's going to attract him to a lot of NFL scouts and teams, is that, hey, man, this dude has an enormous ceiling and he's just scratching the surface. So anyway, a lot of the attention is going to go to Riley Leonard. I think the game ball should go to that Duke defense, though. They were flying around. They dropped 2 picks in this game. Could have easily forced Clemson into 5 or 6 turnovers. I think Clemson ended up having like 3 on the night. Turnover on down, missed field goal, blocked field goal, fumble, and an interception, right? So they self-destructed, did Clemson. They dominated the third quarter, did the Clemson Tigers. Dominated it. Duke had less than 15 snaps total in that quarter. They had 15 snaps in Duke territory. They got inside the Duke probably 10-yard line 2 times in that third quarter and came away with no points. I mean, they did everything in their power to piss away an opportunity to win this game. Credit Duke. Like I said, they were flying around defensively. And that second forced fumble, not the one on the you miss exchange with the quarterback and running back on that read option where they put the ball on the carpet, but the one where the running back fumbled, where he had a big ass run in the third quarter to set them up before they missed the field goal. That's penetration on the part of Duke that forced that fumble. A lot of times when guys aren't expecting to get hit, that's when they fumble the ball. He wasn't expecting instant penetration. He didn't even get to put the ball away. You know, he got handed the rock and a guy's 4 yards in the backfield pushing back his guard. And he's like, what the F? Boom, ball's out. That's how you fumble. And good scoop. Hey, that dude, I don't know what he is, a safety, a corner. He going to get clowned in film session, though, because that quarterback hawked his ass. I mean, he straight walked him down like, bro, you're not scoring. Good thing Duke ended up scoring a touchdown. So, you know, no harm, no foul. But if they end up selling for a field goal, miss a field goal, turn it over, whatever, don't score a touchdown, hey, you getting double clowned. But they still gonna get him. He still got to get his ass ragged. And my excuse, if I'm him, bro, we've been on the field for 13 plays or whatever. But remember, the quarter had just switched maybe a play or 2 ago. Like, bro, that ain't even no excuse. I can't let you slide with that. You just got hawked by the quarterback. So, it was a hell of a performance by their defense. They were flying around, man. Those secondary guys in particular, like, whoa, they were fast. There was one play by the corner. They said he was a transfer from Texas A&M. He like 6'4". He made a hell of a play where he jumped up and knocked the ball out. Like, then there was a safety. He dropped the pick. Then he made another play. Then it was a corner that made a play on the head. I was like, God damn, they flying around in that secondary. There was one play where the dude was playing in the slot late in the ball game. And their best receiver, Clemson's quote unquote, I didn't see shit at the skill positions for them outside of Shipley. But they claim he's their best receiver. He caught a punt inside the 5-yard line or whatever, cost him some field position. Dabo Sweeney got on him earlier in the game. But he ran a little outcut. And the corner was squatting on that thing, and he broke. I said, God damn, look at that speed. Look at that. That's some click and close right there. He should have caught it, but that defender was right there, got his hand in there. Duke, man, I'm trying to tell you, they flying around defensively, man. I was impressed with their defense. Now, they gave up some stuff. I don't want to sit here and make it seem like it was this dominant performance and Clemson couldn't do anything and they were stifled because they moved the football, specifically in that third quarter. They moved the ball and just turned it over a ton, but you got to credit Duke's defense. And they talked about that was their calling card last year, forcing fumbles, recovering them, not turning it over. Now, they turned it over in this game, so they got to clean that up. I know their head coach isn't going to be too thrilled about some of the turnovers and mistakes that they made, but all in all, they took advantage of Clemson mistakes. They made them pay. I thought they should have gone for 2 after the second touchdown because you saw what kind of a game it was. At 13-7, did you really think you were going to score 28 points at that point? I didn't. I thought this was going to be a 17-14 type of game, first to 20 wins. I thought they should have gone for 2 after the second touchdown, but they went for 2 after the third. Luckily enough for them, Clemson hadn't scored a touchdown. They could have lost this game 14-13, and never scored again. But all's well that ends well. Really good performance. They said that Riley Leonard was being mentored by Daniel Jones. He said Daniel Jones has been really kind of mentoring him and giving him tons of advice and kind of schooling him, which is great. You always like when guys come back and kind of help the program, help some players at that same position. He strikes me as a Daniel Jones type. Like when he scored the touchdown, look at him celebrate. Right? He didn't dap anybody up. He didn't celebrate with anybody. He ran straight to the sidelines. So he strikes me as a Daniel Jones type, but we'll see what happens. I think he's more talented than Daniel Jones. And I think he's every bit the athlete, if not a better athlete than Daniel Jones. I think he's got a better arm than Daniel Jones, all of that. But can he be accurate with the football? We'll see. We'll see. As far as Clemson is concerned, Cade Kubnik, not a great performance for him tonight. He didn't get a lot of help from his teammates, though, man. They dropped passes. They didn't create separation. But he wasn't great himself. I didn't think he was terrible either, though. But the turnovers you can't have. The mistakes, they get down inside the 5, and then they get a false start on Jordan. You can't have that from your, veteran star runner. You can't have that. You can't have the false start penalty that backs you up, and then you take a sack and all that. Like, these are the things you just can't have, right? So there was one thing that I laughed at. Kubnik comes off to the sideline, and Debo, I'm about to call him Debo Samuel. Dabo Sweeney is trying to dap him up. He runs right by Dabo Sweeney, and Dabo looks at him like, "Bitch, did you not see my hand? You should have seen the way Dabo looked back. Like, did he just run past my hand?" Like, yeah, he did, Dabo. Dabo was mad as a bitch. Hey, that was funny. But unlike some of the other teams, like Ohio State, for instance, I was not blown away by their quarterback, McCord, but I saw him play better in the second half. I think Clemson will be okay. Because really, honestly, if you want me to be honest with you, if they don't turn the ball over, they probably win this game. I know that's an oversimplification. Yep, you missed 2 field goals. One was blocked, one you shanked. You got a freshman kicker. Shit happens. Turned it over a bunch in the red zone. Just turned it over too many times. Made too many mistakes in general. And if you're a Duke fan, you could say, hey, we don't muff the punt early in the game. Who knows if they even score any points? Facts. I'm not disagreeing with that. But they moved the ball in that third quarter. You can't sit here and say that they didn't. They went up and down the field in the third quarter. They just made too many mistakes. I think they're going to be fine. But the question is there another one of these games in there? And I think there may be 1 or 2 more of these. And that's the problem. You don't have any margin for error now if you're Clemson. You win the rest of your schedule out, and you'll find yourself right in the conversation for the playoffs. But all you need is 1 more of these stinkers, and with a young quarterback and no receivers to speak of, nobody that stands out, and no real skill weapons outside of Jordan Shipley. That I gotta stop calling him Jordan Shipley. Is his name is Shipley? Is his name Jordan? I'm thinking about the dude from Texas once upon a time. I gotta stop doing that. Let me get his name right and stop calling this man Jordan Shipley. Will Shipley. I know his name was no damn Jordan. Outside of Will Shipley, I didn't see one guy that stood out to me. The 2 running backs, Maffa and Shipley, were the only dudes that I said, oh, okay, studs. All the rest of these dudes look average as hell. You're probably due for another stinker like this at some point during the season. I can't see you running the table. This didn't look like a run the table type of team, but again, it's week 1. And we've seen teams improve over the course of a college football season, over the course of an NFL season. Week 1 doesn't always tell the story, especially in college football where there is no preseason. This is the first time you've played against somebody else. Still, I've seen Clemson not look great and win by 35 against this same Duke team. Past years, 2 years ago, they played Georgia Tech. I get it. Georgia Tech, not the same type of team as Duke and, yada, yada, yada. But I've seen them not look impressive, but still win by 35 points. They didn't do that. And they made a bunch of mistakes. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't count Clemson out yet, but I don't think they're going to run the table. So I don't see them being a playoff team this season. And losing to an unranked team, albeit on the road, they're probably going to find themselves out of the top 15, probably somewhere in that 17, 18 range. And now you got to work your way back up. Good thing is they play a tough schedule. The ACC is really good this year. And so they'll have opportunities to play teams like Notre Dame, like North Carolina, that will give them an opportunity to maybe make a name for themselves and get back into the national conversation. But that's a tough loss week 1 for sure. Meanwhile, Duke will probably be ranked next week. Same with Colorado. They'll probably both be ranked after beating ranked teams themselves and doing it on the, not Duke, but, Colorado doing it on the road, Duke doing it against a top 10 team, the only top 10 team to fall this week. Well, outside of LSU, that is. Speaking of which, that's a perfect segue. Let's talk about that game. FSU, Florida State, 5 versus 8. Big matchup. The only game with 2 ranked teams pitting against one another in week 1 of college football. It was billed up as a big game. It was a fun one last year. Came down to the wire. A missed extra point. Ended up deciding that game. Not so much this year. Remember I said Jordan Travis felt like he'd been at Florida State for like 15 years. Well, he showed it. He played really well, especially in that second half. It was a sluggish start to the game for him. It wasn't the cleanest. They were trailing at halftime 17-14, and then the floodgates opened in the second half. And Keon Coleman, a transfer from Michigan State, had 3 touchdowns, had a touchdown in the first half, 2 more in the second half, was outstanding. And Jordan Travis and that Florida State offense took over. That defense dominated. I talked about the LSU quarterback and how I didn't love him last year, and the problem I have with him is he looked like the same dude from last year. Like he didn't grow at all. He looked timid. He didn't look like he didn't want to make a mistake. So he was hesitant. He was holding on to the ball. Like on a 4th down, you can't take a sack. It's 4th down. Like, I don't care if you throw an interception. What you can't do on 4th down is hold it. And it's not like it was immediate pressure. He didn't stand a chance. The dude blitzed, got cut, got back up, chased him down, and sacked. Like, you can't take a sack, bro, on 4th down and goal. You got to give somebody a shot. Who knows? You throw it up and it's pass interference. You cannot get sacked there. And I'm glad he's not our head coach anymore because I'm not the biggest Brian Kelly fan in the world. He was going off on him, and rightfully so. You cannot do that. Find somebody and give them a shot. Nobody's open, fine. Throw somebody open or give them a shot. You cannot take a sack. And I thought he was just really, really hesitant. And he's one of those quarterbacks that when his first read isn't open, he struggles. And his first thing, his first inclination after that first read isn't open, second read, I'm take off and run. That shit's cool when you're playing against, Middle Tennessee State, but not when you're playing against Florida State. And I'm so happy for Mike Norvell because there were people like me, and I'm guilty. I was like, they need to hire Deion Sanders. I wanted them to hire Deion. Deion was looking for a job. I said, one of the problems with Florida State is they're not getting the caliber of athlete they were getting once upon a time under Bobby Bowden, or under what's my man name that went to Texas A&M? I can't remember his damn name, but like they're not getting the caliber of athletes that they once were. So Deion will come in, bring that he'll bring that profile, and he'll get athletes there. Can he coach? I don't know. That was before he went to Jackson State. But I know he's gonna get you some athletes. So Mike Norvell didn't start out well for him. You know, it looked like there was going to be another guy that they ended up running out of town, and that they were going to continue to be a downtrodden program that, you know, once was. But last year the wheels started turning, and this year they got some talent, man. That was what was most apparent to me in that game. Is the transfer portal benefited a lot of teams, and Florida State's one of those teams that it helped tremendously. There's a significant boost in talent on that Seminoles program, and you probably have the transfer portal. You know, Keon Coleman is a great example of that to thank, but it doesn't matter. You know, in this landscape of college football, you know, it's a wild, wild west, man. Get it how you can get it. You know, get in where you fit in. And they went out and they got a bunch of guys. They got some athletes. They're running around. They're fast. They're physical. They're big. Hell, the Wilson kid dropped like 19 passes in the game. He's like 6'10", and he's scared to get hit. Like, bro, how many times you gonna take your eye off the ball because you see somebody coming? You too damn big for that. You know, I tell my oldest son when he's doing stupid stuff to his 1-year-old, you know, twin brother and sister, like, yo, you too old for that. They supposed to be doing that, not you. You 4. You about to be 5. You can't do that. You too old for that. You too big for that. He too damn big for that. To be looking at the safety to see if he coming. Bro, you 6'12". I understand 6'12" means you're 7 feet. I did that on purpose. Hey, bro, you 6'12". What are you doing? Doesn't matter. They had other athletes they can get the football to. I may make fun of Jordan Travis because look, there was a dude tonight that they said, hey, this is his 7th year of college football. What the F, bro? 7? I told you it was a dude at UTSA or UTEP. I think it was UTEP. That bro was in his 8th year. I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, that's 3 years of college ball, and now you're on a second contract in the NFL. Like, are you kidding me right now? 7 years in college football? You've made a career. One of the announcers made a joke and said, yeah, he collected Social Security at college. Like, God damn. Are you kidding me? But that's the new world we live in with COVID. You have over the next 2 years, all of those dudes will be washed out of the system for the most part. And you won't have any more of these 6, 7, 8 year dudes. But right now you're playing some of these times. Sometimes you're playing against grown ass men. Dudes 24, 25 years old. But Florida State was the better team. They were ranked higher. They looked better. They looked better. They looked like they were more. They would look like they were much better coached. And Brian Kelly talked about it. They let us into the pregame, and he talked about, you know, the home field advantage and this being pretty much a road game. Bro, you had it at home last year pretty much playing in the Superdome, you know, or wherever it was, Georgia Dome. I think it was the Superdome last year, wherever. You had it last year. They got it this year playing closer to home, and you got your ass whooped 45-24. And your quarterback doesn't look like he got any better. He looked like the same dude I saw last year. So back to the drawing board for LSU. Anyway, I'm happy for Florida State and Mike Norvell, you know, because they were ready to run him out of town 2 years ago. Much better last year, look even better this year. And even Brian Kelly was talking to him and said, hey, man, you had conviction. You stuck to what you believed in. You kept working it, and now it's paying off. And sometimes as a coach, it's really easy to try to flip the script after the shit that you bring in initially doesn't work. But if you believe in something, you have conviction, you continue to push, hopefully you get results. And that's what's happening in Florida State right now. So anyway, I digress. Rush is variety. Stand up. You are the newest member in the MOBB. Really appreciate you, Mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Rush is Variety some love. Welcome in with open arms. Rush is Variety. Welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. Let's see. All right, so let me let y'all know what is the standard here. If you want your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. If it is pertinent, I will read it. If you want to jump straight to the front of the line, super chats are the way to do that. Anyway. PCC 1901, who sounds like a Duke fan, says Riley Leonard is the second best college quarterback in the nation. I disagree with that vehemently. They'll play North Carolina, so we'll see when they go head to head. I didn't see second best quarterback in the nation. He says that was just tonight. You got to watch his film from last year. He's a better thrower than runner. This is what I care about, and I get it. It's the first game of the season, so I'm gonna cut him a little bit of slack. If this were week 5, I'd have a big problem with what I saw tonight. It's week 1; these things happen. But this was the one of the better opponents he will see all season long. It's a big stage for him. The stage won't get much bigger than this. They may play teams that are ranked higher during the season, but it won't be. You're the only game in town on a Monday night. First of all, you can't have another Monday night game. The NFL is back after this week. So you won't have this platform again. You might get a Saturday, but how many times is Duke going to be playing on a Saturday night for college, college football Saturday night? It's not going to happen, right? They'll play, Notre Dame at 3:30 on a Saturday. They'll play North Carolina, maybe a Saturday night, North Carolina, if both teams are good. But the likelihood is they'll play North Carolina at 3:30 on a Saturday afternoon as well. This was the stage. You had a bunch of NFL teams in attendance, 3 GMs in attendance, and he didn't throw the football well. So really disappointed in that. And anytime you get a chance to showcase your talents, you got to take full advantage of it. And I didn't think he did that as a passer tonight, but it is what it is. Phil W says, I'm an FSU fan. ACC is ours. We'll see. It looks good right now, but don't sleep on North Carolina. I'll say that. Don't sleep on Carolina, and don't sleep on this Duke team. I really like the defense that I saw tonight, even though Clemson had his moments where they moved the ball. And don't sleep on Clemson. They're not dead because of this game, just so we're clear. PCC 1901 says, going to completion percentage on a night when an unranked team beats the top 10 team that is Clemson, no less. Yeah, completion percentage matters. Absolutely. That I don't really care who you're playing and what the stakes are. Completion percentage matters because that determines accuracy. He missed throws tonight, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I like the fact that he didn't throw a bunch of bubble screens and tunnel screens and hitches. I like that they were trying to push the ball down the field a little bit, but he was inaccurate, period. He didn't hit a single deep ball. He wasn't even close on any of the deep balls. There were throws, in the intermediate range where he wasn't close, especially the outbreaking routes. He showed the arm talent, but he didn't show the accuracy. Who gives a shit about arm talent when you don't have the accuracy to match? And again, you want to point me to last year. How about this year? How about now? That's what I'm looking at. I didn't see last year, and again, that's a part of the evaluation. You go back and you watch that freshman or last year, whatever year, probably sophomore year from last year, probably junior this year. You go back and watch that stuff. And again, he's young. And you take all, and then this is game 1, and you take all that stuff into consideration. Again, when I see you, like sometimes you never get a second chance to make a first impression. It's my first time watching him, at all. So I wanted to see what he looked like. And my biggest takeaway is he's an athlete with a big arm. A lot of those in college football, just so we're clear. So I wouldn't go as far as to say he's the second best quarterback in college football right now. I can't make that statement. HHC Lunar says, Riley Leonard looks exactly like a Daniel Jones clone. I think he's more talented than Daniel Jones. Coincidentally enough, though, Daniel Jones was way more accurate than he was. But, or at least when I saw him in college. But the offense was different too. Because he played on the Cutcliffe, did Daniel Jones. HHC Lunar says, Dabo Swinney, nothing without Watson and Lawrence. I mean, name a college coach that's really good without a quarterback. I mean, that's where has Bill Belichick won without Tom Brady? I mean, we take it to any league. If it's football and you don't have a quarterback, we've said this a number of times. You don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance. So it's not hard. It's not rocket science. They thought DJU was going to be the next big thing. And I thought he was too. He played against Notre Dame, that game that Trevor Lawrence missed, and he lit us up. Like he went like 31 of 38 for like 3 and some change, 3 touchdowns. He looked the part. I was like, oh shit, they got another one. And he was big as hell. He's an athlete, and it just didn't work out, you know. But you need a quarterback. That's for sure. HCC Lunar says, and this Klubnik dude, ain't it? I think I've been calling him Klubnik. It's Klubnik. I can't say that he's not it yet. I wasn't. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't terrible. I didn't look at him and say, oh my God, this guy's a disaster. I didn't see that. I just saw a young quarterback that I didn't think was helped by his receivers at all. Like there was no separation tonight. He wasn't the best himself. Like the first possession, he should have thrown a pick. Late in the game, the linebackers right there over the middle of the field, he should have thrown another pick. But he looked like a guy that was on the road in a hostile environment. And it's Duke. It's sort of hostile. Probably a ton of Clemson fans that were there initially that thought they were going to show up, win, and do what they normally do on the road at Duke. But it's the road. And you saw them storm the field. There were a ton of Duke fans there. They were juiced up, amped for this one. And, you know, that defense, as I mentioned, they were flying around. He's an athlete. I thought he showed he can throw the football a little bit. Similar to the way I felt about, you know, Riley Leonard. They're not the same. Obviously, I think Leonard's way more talented than he is. But athlete, can throw the football, has some arm talent, and he's just got to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, right? I don't think he stinks. I didn't walk away saying, man, they're in some trouble. I think they're going to be fine. Anyway, that was the last hashtag and comment. So I'm about to get out of here. I didn't want to waste a ton of your time. Just wanted to get that off my chest. Watched those 2 games in particular over the last couple of days. I wasn't blown away by Riley Leonard. Sorry, not sorry. He looks like he's okay. But, you know, I'll be watching. They play my Notre Dame Fighting Irish later on in the season. I'll see him again. Duke's always on because of where I live. Duke's always on the television. I'll catch him. I'll see what he looks like and see, you know, and I expect him to play better. You know, this was not one of his better showings, but they got it done. That's all that matters is you beat a top 10 ranked team at home. They haven't beaten a top 10 ranked team since they beat this same Clemson team back in like 89, it said, when they were ranked 7th in the nation. So, yeah. And they said they were 0 for 13 in ranked opponents in week 1. The last time I saw Duke play a ranked opponent in the top, you know, 5, 10, they played Alabama one year and got spanked like 40-something to 3. So, and maybe that was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 4 years ago. So, yeah, this hasn't been, you know, friendly to them. And they took care of business. So you got to give them credit for that. They got it done. Anyway, I digress. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, I'm so frustrated with my LSU Tigers. Daniels look lost out there. So embarrassing. We're not ready for the big time yet. Yeah, I told you he looked exactly the same as he did last year. It didn't look like he grew at all. You know, some guys in the offseason, they put on some weight. He looked the same exact size, skinny as hell. You know, looked like the same 1 to 2 read quarterback takeoff as he did last year. He looked hesitant. He looked scared. He looked like he didn't want to make a mistake. And again, I don't think LSU has like the greatest skill position players around him either. But even if they did, similar to the McCord kid at Ohio State, where you got some of the best receivers in the nation and they're not even getting targeted because you can't get them the football. That's how I feel about Daniels right now. He just didn't look comfortable. And it's not like he was a freshman. It's not like this was his first career start as a sophomore. He was the starter last year and he looked exactly the same. So hopefully he gets his act together moving forward. But that was a rough start, man. I was not impressed with him at all. Swaggy P writes, I was a fan of Dabo with Watson and Lawrence. Now I can't stand him. Also, I can't wait to see what Prime does with Colorado after that win. They got some dogs on that team. It's going to be fun to see. I mean, I said this the other night. He's really good for college football because when was the last time Colorado was relevant? I said that. And I don't know. I'm not going to lie to you. They were saying 2002 or something like that with Chris Brown. I remember him at the running back position. Like, I remember 94 with Cordell Stewart and Michael Westbrook. Like, they haven't been relevant in a very long time is essentially what I'm getting to. Even if it's 2002. It's 20 years ago, right? Who cares about Colorado Buffalo's football? Buffalo football. But now we do. Who wasn't watching that game on Saturday? Who's not going to watch? Like, Fox is going and they're taking their entire pregame show out to Boulder, Colorado. Like, who does that? And again, they're playing. It's not like they're playing USC or Oregon. They're playing Nebraska. It just happens to be their first home game, so they're going out there. But all eyes on Boulder, Colorado. Right? It's great for college football, and they got some dogs, man. Like you said, they got some talent. So we'll see what they're able to do to follow that up with an encore. I will say this is going to be a lot tougher. Don't think for 1 second that Nebraska. They're 0-1, and it was a disappointing loss. But don't think for 1 second they're not going to show up and play much better defense than TCU, because they are. I don't think it's going to be as easy as it was last week, but we'll see. And Deion's got a target on his back now. Like, everyone was clowning him before. Had they just went out and lost like everybody thought they were 20-point underdogs, nobody would have batted an eye. They just would have pointed and laughed. But winning that game and then Deion, being boastful after the game and keeping receipts and calling people out, he's got a target on his back now. And look, he could win 7 straight, including beating Oregon and USC. They're still waiting for him to slip up once. So I don't want to call it like, remember the Titans where, Coach Boone couldn't lose a game or he's going to get fired, but he can't. You lose one game, and they're going to lose games. I don't think they're good enough to run the table. They're going to lose games. They probably won't beat Oregon or USC, right? But it's in the way in which they lose those games, if they do lose, right? If they get blown out, people say C. If they are highly competitive in those games, goes down to the wire, and they just fall short, respect. It's a little different then. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. College football week 1, not as entertaining as I would have hoped, but I consumed a ton of it. But the NFL is king in my book. I'm not going to sit there and act like I'm a massive college football fan, because I'm not. But I watch just enough to be dangerous, and I do my homework when it's time for the draft. I probably could do a better job of watching during the regular season, so I'm a little bit more well versed in some of these players before I do the film study. But that's not who I've been. That's not who I am. I'm an NFL guy through and through. Doesn't stop me from watching college football and giving my 2 cents. But I can say this: there are going to be some teams, and I told you I was going to talk about this, so we'll get this out of the way before I get out of here. There are going to be some teams with some young quarterbacks that could struggle this year. Clemson, Ohio State, even Alabama with Milroe. We're going to see. All right. Alabama has Texas this week. I was not blown away by Texas against Rice. I told y'all that Saturday. They struggled with Rice for a good while there before they ran away and hid in that game. There's some teams highly ranked who I'm not 100% sold on at quarterback yet. But again, week 1 can't be the end-all, be-all. Got to give all these teams an opportunity to kind of grow. There's no preseason in college football. Keep that in mind. So we'll see what happens. The team with the most room for growth is Ohio State. That offense looked disjointed the entire game against Indiana. Had Indiana had any semblance of offense or quarterback who they weren't afraid to throw the football on 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 7 with, they could have been in some trouble in that game. But they had the right opponent for the struggles that they showed, because Indiana was never a threat on offense at all whatsoever. So they got to get their act together, or else they won't be in the mix in what is a highly competitive Big Ten with Penn State and Michigan. They won't even be close if they don't get that shit together. And they see Notre Dame in 3 weeks. I think they see Notre Dame in 3 or 4 weeks. They don't get their shit together before then, they'll get waxed by Notre Dame. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this Louie T Network exclusive wrap to week 1. Those final 2 games in particular: Sunday, Florida State, LSU. Florida State destroys LSU 45-24. Florida State was dominant in the second half. Let's call it what it was. Meanwhile, in the Monday capper, big upset. Duke takes care of Clemson 28-7. Riley Leonard, big-time prospect at the quarterback position, showed athleticism, showed arm talent, showed some poise, some moxie, all that good stuff. Didn't show high-level accuracy in this game, which was a little bit disappointing for me. Doesn't mean that the guy can't be accurate, just means he wasn't accurate in this game. But again, this was my first time really watching him, so that was pretty disappointing to me. But he's got all the tools, and at the end of the day, at the quarterback position, being toolsy matters, because we can do something with a guy with tools. We can't do something with the guy that doesn't have them. He's got them. He's big. He's athletic. He's got a big arm. Got to show me that he can be more accurate. He's probably, somebody said he was more accurate last year. I could believe it, which is why he was so highly rated heading into this season. I don't think he's better than Drake May or obviously Caleb Williams. However, and I don't know if he's better than Shedeur Sanders. I personally want to see more Shedeur Sanders, but I watched a ton of him at Jackson State, so I know he's fully capable. But again, lower level of competition. He did it against TCU. Big 12 doesn't play a ton of defense. Let me see what he does against Nebraska, and then what he does moving forward. Pac-12, 13-0 in week 1. If this is in fact their swan song, and it looks like it, everybody looks like they're finding a new home. Only 2 teams left to kind of disperse and find a home, and they look like they're about to join those last 2 teams. Look like they're about to join the Mountain West. We'll see. But at the end of the day, if this is it for the Pac-12, they look like they may go out with a bang. It's just week 1, but they got 7 ranked teams right now. Let's see if I can rattle them off before we get out of here. So, and there may be an 8th in Colorado joining that mix, but you see, you got USC obviously is the highest of all of them. Oregon State is ranked. Utah beat Florida. That's 4. See, who am I missing? I don't know if I can name any more that are ranked. I got 4 of them, though. I feel good about that. I think Colorado's probably, well, I don't know, 17 on the road, though. That might bump them into like 21 or something like that. We'll see. I don't know what some of those top 25 teams in front of them did that might allow them to jump into the top 25. Washington. What am I doing? I definitely UW. And they were impressive against Boise. That's 5. I don't think I'm gonna get the last 2. I can't think of any of the other teams, but I know Washington, which I'm glad I got, because that would have been bad to forget them, because Michael Penix Jr. was ridiculous. I think he had 5 touchdown passes in that game. Yeah, I don't have nothing else for you, but 13-0. The entire conference went perfect. Are you kidding me? Like, had they not been, about to disband, they would have never gone 13-0. That's crazy. Vincent Co., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, been a minute, big bro. New season. I'm back like I never left. Look forward to talk more football with you, Lou. Hope all is well. Likewise, Vincent Co. It's always fun chopping it up with you. Your Seahawks play the Rams in week 1. Probably no Cooper Kupp. You should be able to get off to a 1-0 start, but we shall see. Anyway, I digress. Now I'm curious. Let me go look up these Pac-12 teams real quick. Now that I done already went down the rabbit hole, let's go. Let's see if they're even. They might not even be. There might not even be 7 ranked teams. I might have made that number up. Yeah, I made that number up. I got all of them. Oregon State is 18th. USC is 6th. Washington is 10th. Oregon 15th. Utah 14 and USC 6. So I got all of them. 1, 2, 3, should be 5, 4, 5. Wait, hold on. Let me count that again. Yeah, that was from last week. 1, 2, 3, just 4. It's just 4. How did I get? Didn't I get 5? I thought I got 5. Oregon State, Oregon, Washington, USC, and Utah. Yeah, no, never mind. Yeah, it's 5. My math ain't off. 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. Utah, Oregon, Washington, USC, and Oregon State. Yeah, I'm tripping. Anyway, that's what it is. I keep missing Washington. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's it for me. Your man Louie T. Really appreciate y'all joining me. This college football season is going to be fun because nobody really knows what the hell. I don't think there's any super dominant teams, because USC can score, but can they stop teams that have an explosive offense? Don't know. They might have to outscore them. They ran into Utah last year twice and got their ass whooped once and wasn't able to beat Utah in the regular season. So it's the same thing. It's always going to be that way with Lincoln Riley. They don't play defense. When he was at Oklahoma, that was a problem. It's a problem at USC. So we're going to see. Alabama, I don't know. Their quarterback situation is what it needs to be. Georgia, that's another team to keep an eye on. They really kept their young quarterback out of harm's way. So you really don't know if he's really any good. So he wasn't tested. I don't think they're going to three-peat. I think we're going to get a new national champion this year. But we'll see. There's still Georgia on defense. You say what you want about the quarterback position. There's still Georgia on defense, and that counts for something. So anyway, I digress. Vincent Cole, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Is Witherspoon your CB1 in draft? Who's his comp? I can't tell you about anybody in the draft. You know that, Vince. Why would you ask me that? Can't tell you about anybody in the draft right now. I have no idea who. I just learned who the corner was for Colorado, the corner / wide receiver. You know who the hell he was. You know, my wife was telling me, yeah, that's the one that caused all that controversy by, following Deion to Jackson State when he was the highest rated recruit in the nation to go to a HBCU. I was like, oh, okay, that's who that was. I didn't know who he was. So you can't ask me that right now. You got to wait till February to ask me a question like that. Anyway, I digress. Y'all get out of here. LouieTeeNetwork in full effect on today if you're on the East Coast, tomorrow if you're anywhere else. Looking forward to the start of the NFL season. We're 3 days away, 2 days if you're on the East Coast, from Thursday Night Football. Lions at Chiefs to kick it off. Will Chris Jones be in uniform? Will they get something done? Deadline spur action. Same thing with the Nick Bosa in San Francisco. Same thing with Brian Burns in Carolina. We'll talk about that on Wednesday's podcast. So many storylines as we head into week 1 of the National Football League. No, like 2023 draft. Ha. Oh, you talking about the Witherspoon y'all just drafted, Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois. I'm about to say, what you talking about, man? Was he my number 1 corner? I think I liked Christian Gonzalez. But here's the thing. Gonzalez wasn't physical, and I hated the fact that he wasn't physical. Witherspoon, to me, was extremely physical, as everybody knew, but I didn't think he was as clean a corner as Gonzalez, like a pure corner as Gonzalez was. But that physicality, I think, won a lot of people over. He's a huge talent. I think, though, you can run by him. That's my thought process, is you can run by him. He doesn't strike me as an elite speed guy. And he's not super tall, doesn't have super long arms. So that whole, just be in the picture, makeup, speed, length, and all that stuff, I don't think that applies to him. So his key is going to be do your work early. If you're going to get up and get in somebody's face, be physical at the line of scrimmage. If not, I think he'll be fine. If he's off in coverage, he's got good footwork, plays the ball well, good technique, very sound in his fundamentals. But I think I was shocked. I'll just say this. I was shocked Seattle took him because he doesn't fit the DNA profile of what a Seattle Seahawks corner looks like generally. They're more of an Emmanuel Forbes, Christian Gonzalez type team. Whereas they took Witherspoon, and I think they just fell in love with his physicality, to be honest with you. So I think he was my number 2 corner in the draft behind Christian Gonzalez. But again, I was just going off of pure cover ability. If you factor in physicality, tackling, want to, all of that, Christian Gonzalez gets knocked down a couple pegs in my book because you just didn't really see it on tape. And remember, he didn't have any ball production until his final year at Oregon. When he came from Colorado, Christian Gonzalez was at Colorado his first 2 years of his career, came over to Oregon, and he had no interceptions. He had 4 in his junior year. So that kind of quieted the ball production conversation. But that's something else to consider as well. Because while maybe one of those interceptions, you go, okay, that's a hell of a play. Most of those are like right place, right time. And there's nothing wrong with that. But anyway, I digress. Brian Horst writes, will we have Thursday night football overtime? Of course. What kind of a question is that, Brian? That's a staple, bro. Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night football overtime. Of course. Anyway. Shay Robinson says, Travis Hunter is the name, Louie. Travis Hunter. There you go. I'll remember it eventually. I watch enough of him, it'll stick. But yeah, he was impressive nonetheless. Anyway, y'all get out of here. Have a good one. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Commanders Nightly News. And moving forward, Louie T Network podcast, all of that good stuff. Football is back. Y'all know what it is. God bless. Good night.